Hi everyone. I recently got this cast iron bank. My wife gave it to me for my birthday and I am going to restore it. Now, I have a Hubley mailbox bank from the 1920s that I restored last year, and I made a start to finish video about that process, and now I have another antique bank to restore. Now, I don't really collect these, but this one has an interesting Victorian look to it. And this bank is not a Hubley, it's actually a bit older. This bank was manufactured by the J&E Stevens Company. They were located in Connecticut, and they were best known for making cast iron toys and banks. They began making cast iron items in the 1850s, and they continued doing that until World War II, when the company had to stop manufacturing because cast iron toys were not really necessary and the iron was needed for the war effort. So this bank, I noticed, has a marked patent date of, it looks like it says, it starts on this side. So patent June 2nd, I think it is, 1896. Now, smaller banks like this one, the ones that you can hold in the palm of your hand, known as dime banks. I suppose they were named that because if you were a child who had a bank like this, you would probably put smaller coins in here, like dimes. In fact, I don't think you could put a quarter in that slot. I don't know if a $50 would quite fit. It probably would just fit. And this bank is in the shape of a bank safe. In fact, it says safe right there on the door, and it also has a lock. And it has some really nice, intricate Victorian designs. This bank does have an operating door and a lock. So if I use the picture, I can open it. You can see the lock there. I do not have the key though, unfortunately. And I can lock the door to keep it in place. There's a sliding bolt here. In fact, I can probably do it with my finger. So it kind of slides that way, and then I can just push it back. So I wish I had the key, but I don't, but not a big deal. So what you can do is when it's locked, you can take a pick or something and put it in there, and then you can slide that bolt. And then you can lock the door to hold it in place. What else can I tell you about this bank? As you can tell, the surfaces are rusted and they are pitted. That's how I got it. And I can kind of see that parts of the design have some lighter colored areas. Maybe it's paint, like right in there. It's kind of hard to see in this camera, and right in there in particular. So maybe this paint was originally painted a white or a yellow or a gold color. I did find some photographs of this bank online, and one of the photographs shows the bank as being black with sort of red details on it. And another photograph that I found had this painted kind of a gold color. And it makes sense that during the manufacturing process, a cast iron bank would be painted so it wouldn't rust. But what happened to the paint over the years, I don't know if it was stripped at one point or if the paint just came off. So yeah, at this point, unless I can be convinced otherwise, I am going to paint this bank. And I know some folks will say, well, it's an antique, leave it as it is. And in general, I definitely agree with that idea, but I don't know exactly what this bank looked like originally. And if I paint it in a neutral color, like black, then I think it will retain its design. And furthermore, if I don't protect the surfaces somehow, it's going to continue to rust and pit. And the surfaces will just get worse. So that's the game plan for now anyway. Alright, so I mentioned earlier that this does have a working door, and the door does open. So you could access, or a child could access her or his money by unlocking the door and opening it that way. It can also be opened by removing this center bolt. This bolt holds all the pieces of the bank together by friction. So if I turn this bolt, and it's in there really tightly, I can't do it by hand, I'll have to use a pair of prop pliers or something. But if I turn it, all 6 sides of the bank will be released. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess you can count the bolts being 7. They're all separate pieces of cast iron that are fitted together. So I guess the first part of my plan is to do that, to disengage this bolt and to disassemble the bank. Then I'll take my Dremel tool. I have a Dremel tool off to the side. This is one of those flexible shafts. And I am going to use these. These are brass brushes, and I'm going to use them to clean off this rust. Now, cast iron is a strong metal, but it can scratch, so I think a brass brush like this will work best to remove the rust and not scratch the surface. I mean, as a metal, brass is hard, but it's not as hard as iron. And once I have the bank disassembled, and once I have everything cleaned up, I will lubricate this lock. I have some special lock lubricant that I will use to get this moving a little more freely. Come to think of it, I have some old padlocks that I got from my grandfather's old tool chest. Maybe I'll do those at the same time, but we'll see. But anyway, lubricating this lock will keep it working a little more freely. It's definitely rusted in there, you can feel it. And then, hey, maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to find a small key for it. But in any event, those will be the first steps in the restoration process. And once I'm done all of that, I'll decide what to do next to protect the surfaces. So let's get to this. Okay, so I have the brass brush and this flexible tool for the Dremel. I'll set the Dremel to a medium speed. Don't want to go too fast, don't want to go too slow. Slower is probably a little better than faster. And yep, safety first. I'll be wearing safety goggles. I have some gloves I'll wear, and yeah, I have a respirator mask. So I'll put all those on and I'll start cleaning these up. Okay, I'm now at the point where I have used the brass brush to clean off much of the rust from these pieces. There's still some rust on there, especially on this piece. I'll go over it again one more time. But now I want to focus on the door and the lock, which is a little bit frozen. And I have this product called Houdini. I've heard that it's a pretty good product to use for old locks. So I'm going to spray a little bit in there, let it sit for a while, and see what happens. That was quick. So much easier now. Yeah, that bolt is sliding very easily now. That's good. So I'm just going to let that sit for maybe an hour. Then I'll take some acetone and wipe down just the surfaces. See all the rust kind of coming out of there from the lubricant. And maybe I'll do it that way. So it drains down, and we'll take it from there. Okay, all the parts are cleaned. This still has the Houdini on it, so I'm going to take some acetone. I'm going to wipe everything down and then let it dry. After that, it should be ready for painting. This is just in case there's any oil left on these pieces, or any dust. I'm getting a little bit off there. Over, a little more acetone. This piece. Pretty good. Okay, now that everything's been cleaned, it's ready to be painted. I'm going to use this product again. I used it for the mailbox bank that I did last year. This is black though. So let's give this a go. I'll put one coat on the inside of the bank and 2 coats on the outside. Let that dry. See how it looks tomorrow morning. Okay, here we are, day 2. I think the pieces came out pretty good. Let's get a new piece of wax paper. And put a coat on the other side. hear a humming in the background, that is the shop fan. A little warm here today. Nice warm day outside. As you can see, that's the painted side. That's the natural side. Okay, let those dry for a day, come back, and what I'll probably do is, I might just give them one coat. If I don't do that, I'll give them 2 coats, but I'll let these dry, and then the next segment in this video, I'll put the bank together and show you the final product. Okay, here is the final product. Painted black, the door does open and close, the bolt does work. And I would say this bank is ready for another 100 years. Thanks for watching.